Well, so today we will study the link between the INTJ personality and the Big Five or five-factor model. And we will see also the 30 facets of this personality within the Big Five model. So the INTJ is an introvert, intuitive, thinking and judging type, and this will correlate with some domains of the Big Five. Those domains being I related to extraversion, and being related to openness, T being related to agreeableness, and J being related to conscientiousness. And finally, there is the Big Five domain of neuroticism, and we will see if we can say something about it. So first, let's start with the I of the INTJ. So the INTJ is an introvert type, so he will score rather high on the introvert domain, or rather low on the extraversion domain of the Big Five. Now, if we dive into the six facets of the extraversion of the Big Five, we will see that the INTJ is rather low, except maybe for one or two facets. So extraversion is made of warmth, friendliness, then gregariousness, then assertiveness, then activity level, then excitement seeking, and then positive emotions or cheerfulness. So I would suggest that as for friendliness and gregariousness, that is the ability to make friends easily, or for example, the taste for large parties, the INTJ is very low because he's not very approachable, not very easy to know, and he prefers to be alone. Now, as for excitement seeking and cheerfulness or positive emotions, I would say that he is rather low because he typically doesn't radiate joy or doesn't like loud music or type of intense exterior excitement. Now, as for assertiveness, the ability to take charge and the activity level, the fact of being always busy, I would say that because of their INTJs tend to be higher in assertiveness and higher in activity. Maybe not higher than the average of people, but higher than the other facets of extroversion. Now for the N is linked to openness, and openness has 6 facets to it: fantasy, imagination, aesthetics, artistic interest, feelings or emotionality, actions or adventurousness, ideas or intellect, and values or liberalism. I would say that because he's an intuitive type, the INTJ is very open, but maybe less open than the type with the NE, because they have an I, so an I is a rather narrower type of openness because it is very focused on one vision. And since INTJs are NTs, I would say they are not that high on facets which concerns more the NFs. For example, fantasy, imagination. Do they daydream? Do they have vivid imagination? Maybe higher than average, but not that high. At aesthetics, artistic interest, believing in the importance of art, yes, but they are NTs and not NFs, so not that much. Feelings and emotionality, yes, they have FI, but only third, so it's not that high either. Action, adventurousness, prefer variety to routine or dislike changes. I would say rather dislike changes because of the J and because of their want to control and know their environment. Ideas and intellect, yes, very high because they are NT and introvert NTs. And values and liberalism, rather high, yes, because they don't believe, for example, in one true religion, and they are rather open to discussion. So now we come to the T. So T is correlated negatively with agreeableness. So INTJs are famous for being rather disagreeable, although not that disagreeable, as we will see. So trust, first facet, compliance, second, altruism, third, straightforwardness, fourth, modesty, fifth, tender-mindedness, sixth. So do they trust others? Not that much, because they tend to be a little bit cautious of others, and because they want to remain in control of their private world. In compliance, yes, because though they have TE, they don't have T first, and they don't like that much to break the rules. Altruism, they make people feel welcome. No, not really. They are a very private person, not easy to approach, and very intellectual, so not that easy to get to know. And do they like people? Not that much. Straightforwardness, cooperation. Yes, straightforwardness. So yeah, they are rather straightforward, maybe sometimes too much. Modesty, not that much, because they think highly of themselves in general because of their high level of intelligence. And tender-mindedness or sympathy, not that much, because they have F third and it's an FI. So because of a lack of FE in general, they are low in agreeableness, and especially low in altruism and tender-mindedness. Now we come to the J. So the J would be correlated with conscientiousness. And conscientiousness, they are very high because of the presence of TE, which makes them want to plan and want to achieve goals. So they are very high in competence or self-efficacy, the fact of completing tasks successfully. In dutifulness, rather high, following the rules, but especially if it's their own rules. Achievement, striving, working hard, yeah, very high. Self-discipline, don't wasting their time, yeah, they don't like to waste their time. Deliberation and cautiousness, avoiding mistakes, yes, because they try to make plans in order that everything goes smoothly towards a goal, and therefore they try to avoid mistakes and not to rush into things. I would say a little bit less in order or orderliness, because they are not a sensory type, and so they don't put that much importance on the physical environment. But conscientiousness is very high. And finally, neuroticism or emotional stability. Neuroticism doesn't correlate that much with the big five, but anyway, since the INTJs are a rather original person and private person, and are a little bit socially awkward, I think this would make them rather high on some facets of neuroticism, such as depression, often feeling blue, self-consciousness, being embarrassed easily, anxiety, worrying about things, but not that much in hostility, anger, not that much in impulsiveness, and not that much in vulnerability. So to sum up, conscientiousness very high, except maybe for the facet of order. Neuroticism a little bit higher than average, especially in depression and self-consciousness. Extraversion rather low, except for assertiveness and activity. Agreeableness rather low, except for compliance and straightforwardness. And openness very high, but a little bit less high in aesthetics and emotionality. So tell me what you think in the comments. If you don't agree, please tell me. If you are an INTJ and you recognize yourself or you don't recognize yourself, tell in the comments and I will answer quickly. Thank you.